Listen, there are two things that I see people truly crave in this world, and that is emotional fulfillment and sexual fulfillment. And because of these two desires, this is what leads us to embracing or contributes to us embracing being in a relationship, as well as then moving forward past that into a marriage. And we look for our partners to fill those needs, to pour into us in that way, and so that we can just stay focused on them and not feel the desire or the curiosity or the temptation to want to seek it elsewhere. Now, many may say, well, listen, that isn't a fair expectation to be put on a partner. But the reality is that this is what people are looking for. This is what they're hoping for when they enter into a relationship. And the minute that you undermine that level of fulfillment that they're looking for, the door gets cracked open to people entertaining other individuals outside of their relationship. Now, let me make this clear. I am not saying this is okay, acceptable, or anything like that. I'm telling you what happens. And what happens is cheating, plain and simple. But in today's video, we're not even talking about the physical cheating, because I think many people overlook emotional cheating. More specifically, having an emotional affair. I would make the argument that there are more emotional affairs going on right now than physical affairs, okay? One, because it's a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to fall into the trap. Sometimes you may be in one and you don't even realize what's fully going on here. And other times, again, it just may feel like an outlet. It may feel like, okay, it's a harmless situation because I have no interest in moving this past the emotional side of things. But many people overlook the fact that starting with the emotional can open the door to the physical. And even if it does not go that far as the physical, what impact is this emotional affair having on your relationship? And you know what? More importantly, what does it say about your relationship? What's really going on here? So here are some signs to look for, but I want to make clear these signs can be what you may see in your partner, or what you may have to evaluate about yourself and what's going on in your life. Sign number one is you keep this friendship secret from your partner. Now, I say friendship in quotes because, again, some of these situations aren't really friends, okay? And when I say they're not really friends, I'm meaning that it's not truly platonic. That even though it may be operating on an emotional level, there is a sexual desire that exists there. But we'll get more into that later. So regardless of whether you call them friend, acquaintance, whatever, the person keeps this individual that they're gaining this emotional fulfillment from separate from their relationship, or secret. Now, I use both secret and separate because in some scenarios, it is just a secret. It is that part, the other partner has no clue about this quote unquote friend. All right. And that's a red flag, because if this is a genuine platonic relationship, friendship, then why wouldn't the partner know about it? Why wouldn't the partner be involved? When I say involved, I don't mean we hang out with each other's friends, we talk all day with each other's friends, but we have a level of rapport with them when it's a genuine platonic friendship. But when there's something more going on there, there's a tendency to want to keep it separate from the actual relationship that the person is in. But again, sometimes it's separate in the sense that the other person is aware of this friend. They know this person exists, but again, the world is kept separate. So what you'll notice is, for example, let's just say a woman is having an emotional affair with a guy at work, all right? And the husband, let's say it's a husband in this scenario, knows about the guy at work. And to him, it's just some harmless guy at work. But what happens is the wife never tries to include the husband in anything that her and the friend do. Never tries to allow them, or never allows them to cross paths. Again, she may make the husband aware, But the key is keep them separate. Now listen, I'm using a woman as an example. Of course, this can be in reverse with a man. The point is, I'm speaking about people in general. This is what you're going to see happen. A level of secrecy or separation with this other quote unquote friend. And for the sake of this video, I'm just going to use the word friend throughout the video, all right? But we understand that it's not really always an actual friendship, all right? Good. Sign number 2 of an emotional affair is that the person does not confide in and open up to their partner. And more specifically, they confide in others, but not their partner. Now, listen, I know some of you might be thinking, well, because you might be triggered by this. You may feel like, well, listen, I try to talk to my partner and I can't. So the fact that I confide in others doesn't mean I'm having an affair. I get what you're saying. But one, remember what I said in the very beginning, an emotional affair can expose what the deeper rooted issue is in your relationship. And so if you fall under the category of you confide to this person, or you notice your partner confide to this person, but not in you, then that shows that you guys have some kind of breakdown in communication that needs to be addressed and resolved. If not, this continuous behavior of confiding in others or confiding in this friend will continue. And again, as I said earlier, it can start emotional and that can easily turn sexual. So we can't just say, oh, well, you know what? It's no big deal. They don't got to talk to me. They can talk to them. I don't feel like hearing their stuff anyway. No, you better be careful, because if they can't talk to you or you can't talk to your partner, then that's going to lead to bigger problems later. A third sign of an emotional affair is an unwillingness to establish boundaries or consistent breaking of the boundaries, all right? So again, let me give a very direct example. Let's say man and woman are married. The man has a friend and they talk here and there. Wife doesn't really have a problem with it. But let's say the wife communicates that, hey, listen, I know that's your friend, but she don't need to be calling this house past a certain time. So let's just say she's not supposed to call the house past midnight, all right? That's an understood agreement. That's the boundary that has been set. And what you may find is, one, either a strong pushback on that boundary, which is a sign of trouble right there. Because again, any happy, healthy relationship are two people who respect each other's feelings, respect the boundaries that they want to have in place. Of course, there may be a level of trying to come to an agreement or middle ground, but just a complete dismissal or rejection of setting a boundary, that's a problem. But let's just say in this scenario, he agrees to the 12 o'clock curfew, the 12 o'clock cutoff time. And then the female friend multiple times calls past 12 o'clock. And at no point does the husband check the female friend. At no point does he remind her, listen, you shouldn't be calling. Now, this is a two-way sign. A two-way sign because, one, the fact that he's not checking her, even though she continues to break the boundary, is saying, okay, what the hell's going on here? There's something more to this friendship. The other sign is, why does the friend keep breaking the boundary? She knows damn well she's not supposed to call past 12 o'clock. She understands he's married. Why is she so willing to violate, and I'm going to use the word violate the rules of what is an appropriate time to call? That shows on her side, the friend side, there's something more there. And again, even if these two people have never physically gotten involved, they're clearly emotionally invested to each other at a level that has become unhealthy. Because one, people are not respecting the boundaries of a relationship. We've got a huge problem. So that's one example, but of course it can apply to any kind of boundaries you set. It can apply to physical boundaries, all right? There may be, okay, wait a minute, this friend gets a little too close. What's going on there? This friend's rubbing your husband or your wife's leg. What's going on with that? Like, and listen, this may sound crazy to some of y'all, but this stuff happens sometimes. This is real. So this is definitely a clear sign that there's more than likely some level of an emotional affair going on here. Number 4 on this list, that sign of an emotional affair, is they feel closer to their friend than their partner. Now, of course, depending on which angle you're evaluating this, if you are the person evaluating your partner to determine if they're in an emotional affair, you may not know if they're truly feeling closer to this friend more than you, unless they actually come out and say it. And that can happen. Maybe in a moment of frustration, venting, whatever the case may be, they may allude to that and show you that, yes, they do feel like there's a deeper bond on that side. But I think that when you are trying to evaluate it from that angle, considering the things of, okay, do they confide in them more than me? Do they seem to be more generous and helpful to them? Do they seem to be more concerned about their friends' feelings than mine? These are things that kind of speak to, okay, there's a deeper level of closeness there than we have with each other. But the other also way to look at this is if you're the one that's in it. And you got to ask yourself, because you're the one that can answer this clearly. Do you feel closer to your friend than your partner? And if that is the case, and again, this is a problem. And even if you say to yourself, no, it's not a problem because this is really my friend and I would never cross that line with my friend. Okay, cool, let's run with that. But if a friend can make you feel closer to them than your own partner, why are you with this partner? What kind of relationship do we really have here? And you've got to understand that if you don't have that level of closeness with your partner, it's going to then create other issues. It doesn't just stop there. It starts to show itself in various ways. So you can't ignore that and think this is harmless. Again, the mistake that many people make in regards to emotional affairs is thinking this is harmless. It will only stay here. And that's just not the case in most situations. It's going to escalate many times, and again, it is exposing the issues in your relationship that you are refusing to address. And unfortunately, what happens, I have to mention this, what happens to many people is the only reason you're even able to tolerate, and I'm using the word tolerate specifically, tolerate your relationship, your committed, supposed to be committed relationship, is because of the emotional affair you got going on. It's because of the buffers, I like to call them, in your life. Sometimes it may not be quote unquote an emotional affair, but it could be friends and family, your kids. You're using other things to pour into and to draw from emotionally so that you can ignore or deal with the fact that you don't get that from your partner. This is not good. This is not healthy. And again, I'm just going to give one example of why this is not a long-term fix. Let's just say you're gaining your emotional fulfillment from your children, all right? And typically that can happen while they're still very young and very dependent on you. And so you allow that to create an environment where you can ignore the fact that what you're lacking in your actual relationship or in your marriage. But once these kids become older and they are now independent, and now you don't get from them emotionally what you used to, now that crack that existed just busted wide open. Now what are you going to do? Now you're searching for answers of where you can get this fulfillment again because it's been taken away from you. You weren't getting it in your relationship. Now your kids have grown up. So what happens? Either you're going to try to have more kids or you're going to get it from somebody else. And that someone else can very much, as I've said multiple times already, lead to something physical. Hell, it may even start physical because you're trying to get the emotional from them. And the physical was the avenue you took to get there. All right? We're not going to drag on with that, but just, it's just things to consider, had to be addressed, had to be spoken on. But at the end of the day, feeling closer to the friend than your partner is a sign of an emotional affair, or at the very least, a huge red flag. All right, so let's keep this moving. The 5th sign of an emotional affair is when the person is more concerned about how they look to their friend rather than their partner. All right. So one thing, and again, I just feel the need to remind you guys that no matter what examples I use, whether I use a man or a woman, a husband or wife, this applies both ways. So I'm not picking on any specific gender, all right? Before y'all say, well, men do this or women do this. Yes, everybody. It happens both ways. Getting back to the point. Having a concern of looking good for the partner, for the friend more than the partner. So again, when people, they won't look good or dress up for the person at home, but if they're going to be in the presence of their friend, oh, now they got to look all extra good. Sometimes you see like the guy who doesn't take care of himself, but all of a sudden when he's going out with this friend, he got to get a fresh haircut. He got the best cologne on. That man is getting done up. It's like, well, wait a minute. What's going on here? Now, again, I also want to make clear, just because you see a sign like this, because I already can see a scenario where some of y'all are remembering when your man stepped out looking better than usual. And now you're like, wait a minute, is this man having an affair? I don't want that to be the assumption, but I do want you to be aware enough to dig deeper, to understand, okay, is there a reasonable explanation for this? Or is this the real issue, that there is an emotional affair or maybe even a physical affair going on? All right. But ultimately, yes, that desire to want to look good for the partner, and not just look good. I think when we say more concerned with how that person looks to their friend than their partner, goes beyond beyond physical presentation. It's, again, being concerned about their perception. I don't want my friend to look at me like this. So you don't care how your partner looks at you or perceives you, but you seem more concerned with your friend. That's a problem. If you hold, or that person holds, their friend's perception in higher regard than their partner, that's a problem. And that's a sign. That's a red flag. That's an issue that has to be addressed. And we cannot just simply ignore it. Moving along to the sixth sign. And this is another one where it's really going to be about you answering this question for yourself. It's about constantly thinking about your friend. All right. So, of course, this is one of those signs where you can't read the mind of your partner. So you don't know if they're constantly thinking about this friend, right? But if you are that individual, you know whether or not you keep thinking about this person all the time. Again, we all have friends. We have, well, majority of the world has friends. There's plenty of platonic situations, genuine platonic friendships. But you know the difference between how you think about your typical friends and how you keep thinking about this friend. All right? That's the difference. It's like, it's a higher level of constant thought, them constantly running through your mind. There is a higher level of emotional investment that has occurred, or emotional attachment, or in some cases, connection. I have to say this. Sometimes people are in relationships with someone who, let me rephrase that. I firmly believe that most people are not in a relationship or marriage with the person they have the strongest feelings for. All right? This is an unfortunate reality, but it is what it is. And because so many people are not with the person they have the strongest feelings for, it leaves the opening for someone else to step in and create a stronger attachment, or, again, connection. Now, when I use the word create, that's for attachment, because connection cannot be created. It's either there or it's not. But what can happen is, if you're not with the quote unquote right person as I see it, then that person that you have a connection with can still be out there. And now when you meet them, and they may come in the form of a friend, you may experience a connection with them that you don't experience with your own partner. All right? And this can now lead to where they're always on your mind. They're always on your heart. They're always weighing on your spirit, because there's something deeper there. Now, again, I don't want the fact that some of you may have this issue of constantly thinking about your friend to automatically mean or for you to automatically think that means connection. No, but that is a possibility. And there's a lot of other things we have to look into and evaluate to determine, is this connection or is this attachment? But if they are constantly on your mind, then yes, this is a sign of an emotional affair. Which brings me to number 7. So it's one thing for them to be constantly on your mind, but if you're also having sexual fantasies about them, then yeah, this is an emotional affair, or this is a sign that this is an emotional affair going on. And again, this can happen because sometimes you may not have, or that person may not have intended on this becoming anything sexual, and may have no intentions, at least consciously, of trying to cross sexual lines. But that doesn't stop the sexual thoughts from coming. That doesn't stop the fantasizing from happening. And if that is occurring, then it is a sign that something deeper is going on here, all right? Because let's be real, we don't fantasize about having sex with our real friends. Plain and simple, all right? When there isn't a romantic interest, when there isn't a deeper emotional desire in that way, we just, our brain doesn't go in that direction. So if that is happening, then yes, that is another sign that you need to be aware of. So now we're at number 8. All right, last one was pretty quick, but this one's gonna be a little longer. Number 8 is always finding excuses to spend time alone with the friend. All right, so again, actually it's gonna be kind of quick too. Again, plain and simple, you'll have scenarios where, let's say again, it's a woman who has a friend, all right? And the husband or boyfriend is aware of the friend. And whenever there's an opportunity for everyone to hang out, she somehow finds a way to make an excuse or twist the situation, like, oh no, you don't gotta come. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm just gonna go out with them. Somehow finds a way to remove the partner so she can be alone with the friend. And again, vice versa, men doing the same thing. So whether that's something that you're seeing in a partner or you are catching yourself doing it, this is a issue that needs to be addressed. All right, so now sign number 9, and I got a couple extra bonuses for you after number 9, but this one to me, I'm not gonna say it's the biggest sign. I'm gonna say it's the biggest red flag or issue that needs to be talked about. The 9th sign of an emotional affair is when you engage, or that person engages with their friend in ways that they would be unhappy if their partner did it with someone else. All right? Repeat that so you understand what I'm saying. When that person engages with their friends in ways that they would be unhappy if their partner did it with someone else. So essentially, you over here, let's just say this person is flirting with their friend. They consider it playful flirting, all right? And even making sexual comments. And again, to you, it might be, oh, but I have no intention of crossing that line. But you know very well, if your partner did the same thing, you'd be pissed off. Anytime we are allowing ourselves to behave in ways that we deem inappropriate when it's done against us, that is a huge problem. Whether you want to call it emotional affair, red flag, whatever, it is a problem. We have to be willing to look ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, wait a minute. Is this really okay or not? Now, listen, I know that sometimes you can get caught up in situations. And I think that I'm not here to make any of you guys feel bad because maybe you at one time did do something that may be considered inappropriate or something that you would not want your partner to do in return, right? The key is just catch yourself, correct it, keep it moving. Don't continue to engage in that behavior. But the willingness or desire, even desire, because here's the thing. Let's just say, okay, you catch yourself and you say, you know what, I'm not going to do that because I know I wouldn't appreciate my partner doing it. But the desire is still there. You really want to, and when I say desire, not curiosity, not this would be interesting. No, you want to be able to. Then again, dig deeper. Why? Why do you feel the need, the desire to want to engage in this way with this person when you know this is not what you would be okay with on the other end? That speaks to either, again, you being more emotionally into this friend, or a detachment that exists within your relationship, or both. And so it's another one of those things that has to be looked into. So listen, I told you I had some bonuses real quick. One, when we talk about emotional affairs or any kind of affair, if your intuition is telling you something is off, look into it. But when I say look into it, do not attack. See, the thing is this, whether your intuition is telling you there's an emotional affair going on, and let's just focus right now on you think this is happening with the person you are in the relationship with. Your partner is engaging in an emotional affair. Whether it's your intuition leading you to believe it, whether it's you watched this video, saw the signs, and you're seeing those signs in your relationship, whether it's your friends telling you, I think this person is doing such and such, attacking them, accusing them will get you nowhere. And the reality is that an emotional affair is not the end of the world. Meaning, you guys can recover from this if this is the right person to begin with. And I know you might be thinking, well, if they're the right person, why would an emotional affair happen? It can happen. Even to the best of couples, it is possible for there to be lapses of judgment. It is possible for there to be moments or periods of disconnect that need to be resolved, all right? And then, of course, in some relationships, if you're not with the right person, then these emotional affairs, these behaviors are symptoms of being in the wrong relationship. They are symptoms of you're trying to make it work with the wrong person. Either way, address it. And not just address it in the sense of, why did you do such and such? Why are you doing this and that? Address it also from the root. What is causing you? So basically, if your partner is confiding in someone else more than you, to simply tell them, well, you shouldn't be telling somebody else, your business. I don't like this. You need to respect the relationship. That doesn't solve the issue of the fact that they don't feel comfortable confiding in you. So if we're going to actually solve this, if we're going to actually get to a better place, we have to both address the surface behavior and the root issue. And too many times people in relationships only attack or address the surface issue and not the root one. And I will warn you now, in addressing the root issue, you will either find out that you two can have a much better relationship, or you two need to walk away from each other. And I think that's the reason why most people don't do it, because they're afraid to face that reality. And it's easier to continue on in an emotional affair and keep your relationship as it is than it is to have to walk away from it, face the reality of it coming to an end. Then there's dynamics like, what about the kids and all these other things? And we won't get into that today, but I understand all the different factors that make it hard. But we're either going to do what's necessary to create a happy and healthy relationship, or we need to be willing to walk away. Because in not properly addressing it or in allowing that emotional affair to continue, again, at some point, your relationship is going to end anyway. It's either going to end by an official cheating being done and found out, or other toxic things happening in your relationship due to starting from the crack, the disconnect that exists, and then it stems into or pours into other areas and now creates all kinds of huge problems. So I'd rather you properly address it and either have to walk away or finally see that you guys can get to a better place with each other.